So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
So let's get started. Mike, tell us a little bit about where you're from originally.
It should be on. Is it on?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. I grew up in Cleveland. I went to Bowling Green. I then came to Columbus and went to law school here at Ohio State. I lived here through the 80s. Then I went back home to Cleveland. I practiced law till 1999, and every day I would go into my law office happy, and I'd come out sad because I spent a whole day being a lawyer. So I knew I had to do something different, so in 2000 I became a realtor at Realty One up in Cleveland.
So Greg, same question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. Yep.
Grew up in Columbus, went to Watterson, went to Ohio University, got my first job in technology sales with CompuServe Network Services, which is around 270 here in Columbus. Got transferred, started working for AT&T doing data sales in Cleveland, Ohio. I bought a lot of doubles and, multifamily properties up in Cleveland, which is where my roots grew, and now I'm there in Cleveland. But let's see, I started with Realty One also, then transferred over to Keller Williams. Mike and I became partners, and the Easy Sales team was born in 2008.
So you're jumping way ahead on me.
Well, that's my summary. I'm sorry. Okay, so I went to Watterson.
So tell me
my
about...
freshman year was really good.
So tell me about how and when, what made you, so you started buying doubles. What made you start getting involved in real estate?
Actually, my dad, he owns a two-family down in Clintonville, right by Ohio State campus, and my whole life he's been telling me what a great financial idea that was for him and how he's leveraged that to many things like cash out refi and just the cash flow. And so I thought to myself, if he did it once, maybe I'll do it a bunch of times, and that seemed to work out pretty good. That, along with Robert Kiyosaki and those books and that training, just kind of tied together. So I took my money and my sales checks and stuff from corporate America, and I started buying my own rental properties. And my passion for real estate grew in a big way.
Mike, were you a real estate attorney when you were specializing?
I was a transactional attorney, so it was mostly commercial real estate.
And enough was enough, right?
Yeah, it was just, basically I would spend my time on page 47 of the contract negotiating the subrogation clause when all I really wanted to do was make the deal.
Right.
And it just wasn't something I was very happy with. I have more of an outgoing personality, and dealing with that nitty-gritty wasn't very fun.
So did you two meet at the brokerage? Is that where you both connected? So talk to us about that. Talk to us about, well, I guess, so we have a good mix here today. We have some lenders and we have some agents. So maybe each of you can talk about, before you met, when you were at the brokerage, what was the attraction, the lure to team up? What were some of the pain points, some of the causes for wanting to do that and that sort of thing? Maybe talk a little bit about prior to getting together and what led to that.
I think it just happened naturally. When we were in the same office, same brokerage, we found we ironically had offices next to each other, and he would come in and ask me help for any internet, web-based solutions, things like that, and I would go in and ask for help from, this guy says he wants to, pull out of a deal, or really tough transactional questions. He was almost like the broker in the office, but he wasn't the named broker, but I could go to him for that. So there was like this puzzle piece that really fit together nicely, and we realized we were each other's kind of weakness, and my strengths were his weaknesses and vice versa.
Right, because I'm 58 years old, and that was a long time ago, but still, I had no idea about what an internet presence was. And I actually didn't even want to know because I didn't want to do it. But I knew that the market was going in that direction, and so I had no choice but to deal with that. But really, the best option was the guy in the office next to me who knew all about it.
So you found attributes from each other that either you didn't have an interest in or you weren't good at, right?
Yeah, Mike's, I think
together.
joy comes in problem solving, which is not necessarily my joy. My joy was internet lead generation and search engine optimization, just that kind of stuff. As we talked about, all these toys you have around here, I want them too. So it's my passion. It's what makes me happy. So we get to, as partners, do what we enjoy best. It doesn't feel like work anymore.
Go ahead.
So when Greg came to the office, he had this great opportunity to get involved with the sale of apartment buildings. And he wanted to team up with somebody. and I was the most likely person in that office to team up with. And so we actually had the good fortune to work together on a project before we even became team
That's
members.
true, yeah.
And so we knew we could work together, we knew we'd get along, we knew that we had the same goals of actually closing transactions. And so that really helped us, I think. In the
Right,
beginning.
right. It proved to us, and when you're looking at partnerships, which I think partnerships are probably one of the most challenging ways to create a team, I think the one thing that Mike and I both know is that I would just as soon lose money than take money from him. You know, I can't go to sleep if I feel like it's unfair. So we're always apologizing for maybe going on vacation for too long, or you know, we always want to make sure that there's equilibrium between our value and what we're doing for each other. And it just takes that type of mentality. And you just got to make sure that one of you isn't. We talk givers and takers. If you have two takers, you'll never work. If you have one taker and one giver, you'll never work. But if you have two givers, then it's that type of partnership is going to work.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So, how long ago was it that you two first started collaborating that way?
What was it? 2004. Yeah, 2004.
12 years.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the early days? You're building your team. You decide to create a team, right? To work together,
2008.
collaborate.
Right.
So
Right. 2004 is when we did the apartment stuff.
Okay.
Then we both decided on the same day to leave our brokerage to go to Keller Williams. At that point, we actually had not decided to become a team. We actually went to, and I think some people know, ever heard of Family Reunion at Keller Williams. It's the big convention. And we were in a breakout session, and the guy who had sold $160 million of real estate the year before said, you need to hire your weakness or partner up with it. And as if the light bulb went off, that we realized that, well, what are we doing? We'd be so much better together because we're both each other's weaknesses. And we went back to the whole hotel, sat in the lobby, and created the Easy Sales team on that day.
So what were some of the so starting that? What was that process like? How do you become? How do you make the decision to do it? What does that mean?
That was a while ago. So.
I didn't tell you this was going to be easy, Greg.
Right, right. And by the way, he did not give us these questions before this. This isn't like we should know the answer right off the bat. This is not scripted, as I think y'all know. The beginning, it was just it's called failing forward. We made a lot of mistakes. Oh my goodness! But in a way, it was. We never got out of sorts. We never got flustered. Sometimes we did, but we never lost it. We just stayed focused on the ultimate mission, and I think that's probably what makes us successful. Is our number one goal and focus always was to do what's right by the homeowner. And probably won't get into the specifics of, unless you want us to, but of what that means. But it was a certain set of values and a value proposition that was different than the competitors that we were surrounded by, and so. We used that, we pushed it forward, and at every turn, Mike and I just said, well, what's in the best interest of the homeowner? And we went from there. And I know that sounds probably too easy to come up with, but when you start to monetize, if you tie that to monetarily what we were stepping over in order to do the right thing, there was a sacrifice involved, and we both agreed with that. And I think by always going back to the foundation, that's what's helped us power through all the challenges that we've had.
And I think that day in the hotel lobby, we had a real serious and honest conversation about what each of us expected from a team and the philosophies that we wanted to build that team on, and they were remarkably similar. And so we knew that we had a good foundation, because building a team, you have to have the right philosophy, but you also have to have a plan that you can move forward on. And I think we did that slowly. We just didn't jump in. We worked on a business plan, and we worked on what value proposition can we give not only our clients, meaning the buyers and sellers, but our other set of clients, meaning our agents.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to talk, so don't let me go off of the agent value prop, because I think that's incredibly important. A lot of agents, when they're choosing brokerages especially. So I want to get back to that. But I do think I would like to talk about I would like to talk about that concept of value prop. What value are you bringing? Can you elaborate on that a little bit further, as far as you guys decide what your value prop is? What does that mean?
Yeah. So I think, the value proposition, I guess part of it is, and this goes back to your first question and then ties into the second, like how do we start a team? We come up with a mission. part of it is conceptual, or like understanding that we are a business and we're not realtors anymore. Okay, we now run a company, and every company is going to be different. World Class or Title, SocialMLS, all the different organizations and companies have different philosophies, different mission statements, and the value proposition, I guess, ties into that. Understanding, okay, we're a business. What value can we provide our homeowners? And we coming through a lot of other businesses, we determined that there were a lot of things, like I always like to use the Southwest Airlines analogy. Southwest Airlines doesn't charge you extra for that extra bag, whereas maybe Delta and the other guys do. Now, we can all afford that. It still drives us nuts, right? Just makes us frustrated. And so we felt like we had ability to come in and kind of change things in the real estate industry and start to remove some of those fees and start to do things that maybe aren't immediately the most obvious thing to do to create profit. Actually, we're taking those away so that the homeowner has a better experience, which is why when you look at Southwest Airlines, they're the only profitable airline that's out there right now. All the other ones keep going back to the government going, can I have more money? And Southwest Airlines is like, hey, we're good. And I think it's because they have people coming to them. They're attracting clients from that kind of philosophy. So like our value is trying to really, again, focus on what's in the best interest of the homeowners without going into like great detail as far as, you can go to our website and you can see, what that is, and I can go through the steps, but.
In Cleveland, we identified 6 things that we didn't like that realtors did for their clients. And you can just go look at it. The Easy Hassle-Free Listing page will tell you all about all 6 of them, and we just don't do them. And when we go into listing presentations, people in Northeast Ohio in particular are just so relieved that we're so transparent about what we do and what other people do, and they didn't know the different things that people did that were a little bit certainly legal but not sketchy. And so that really is our value proposition. Our value proposition to our clients is that we don't do anything that's sketchy. We have the best internet presence because of Greg, and we have a very strong closure rate. So the Easy Sales Team's closure rate, once you write a contract, there's a 96.5% chance it closes. That's about 10% more than the average of NAR. And I sort of bring those closing skills and those problem-solving skills to the table. So to our clients, competence, honesty, and transparency are the real values. To our agents, which is I think you wanted to talk about, if you looked at our organization chart, our organizational chart really has our agents up top, Greg and I underneath, our administrators under Greg, and the mentors under me. Because we feel that our agents are our clients as well, and that Greg and I and the Easy Sales Team are vendors. And if we don't provide the right team value services to those clients, they will go somewhere else. And so what we discovered is that every single agent has a different need. We have people on our team who sell $12 million a year, never take a lead. That's not the value proposition. The value proposition to them is we make them look really sharp and professional, and it makes their life easy. Then we have new agents on the team who are looking to have a mentor and to be guided through the entire system. And so we provide that. So what we discovered is the value proposition is different for everybody, so we have to be flexible enough to realize what that is and then give it to them.
So let's back up a little bit, because I think that's more along the lines of what you're presently doing and is definitely adding value for agents. But when you're building, you make that decision and you're aligning those core values of what direction you want this to go. What was the first hire that you collectively decided to make as building that team, and what, if you had to do it again, would be that first hire?
I think we were fortunate. We both had teams, small teams, and then we combined the two. You want to get your unfair, and that's another thing that we thought about is, wouldn't it be crazy unfair for 2 top realtors like us to come together? Then our numbers and just everything would be exponentially greater. And Gary Keller says, get your unfair advantage in the marketplace. Do something unfair. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if your competitors like it. That's not the point. It's like, what will give you that competitive advantage that others, that will push you through the market? So I don't know, that's...
Well, so some takeaways for these guys, if they're thinking about building a team or joining a team, what would you suggest that first hire to look like?
I mean, well, I'm sorry. So we had administrators, and they were already there, and you've got to have an administrator to start
Like
out.
specifically,
Specifically,
what type of administrator?
Well, you need to get away from the paperwork. Division of labor is extremely important in any company. A doctor doesn't come in. I mean, they don't do the paperwork, and then they're specialists within specialists. So then, so you've got to get away from the paperwork first. If you're a realtor, then you're a salesperson. You should not be putting signs in the ground. You should not be taking photos. You should not be putting signs in the ground. It doesn't make any sense. So I would say the first hire is trying to get rid of those things so that you can be out in the field more.
And the real question for everyone as they're doing is, what do you want to fire yourself from? What is it that you don't do well? And then you need to figure out who can fill that void.
Yeah, and hire somebody better than you, and hire somebody that's better than you that also has the ability to get to the next level. Don't hire them for that job. It should be somebody that can take the next job after that job. And I'm just sharing what I've heard. This isn't my own original thought, but it's absolutely true.
Well, and it's hard to execute, right?
Yes. Oh, it's very
especially
hard.
when you build it.
Yeah.
How do you then give? It's like letting your kid go off to college. I imagine, because I don't have a
Yeah.
child going to college, but
You got to learn to let go. And what we've learned is there are realtors on our team that will do as good a job. And quite frankly, since we're distracted with obviously the business of building the business, they will absolutely do a better job for that listing or that buyer than I personally would. And that's the hardest thing. That first, and what I'm talking about there is after you get the administrator, getting your first, buyer agent. Buyers are the ones, obviously buyers take up all your, take up the time. So that would be you want to do the listings as long as you can and then have the buyer's agents. I use buyer agent loosely because we actually hire realtors. We actually don't delineate, but that is the most time-consuming part of being a realtor is running buyers. So that would be the second hire, not to jump ahead, but to try and get somebody to help you run buyers and start to build that team.
And you also have to know when you're ready to do that. So I had an agent recently email me, Mike, I'd really like some consulting. I'd like to hire a buyer's agent. And what was your thought process going through it? This guy's sold 2 houses.
Right.
He's a new agent.
Right.
And my response to him was, go sell a house first. because he wasn't ready to do that. He thinks you just can't run in and become a team.
Right.
You have to have a value proposition that you can offer your agents. And if there's no value proposition there, you have some expertise, you have the internet expertise, you have expertise as a good realtor, whatever it is. If you don't have anything to offer, then there's no point to do that. Become a good realtor first. Work hard at building your business, and don't hire a buyer's agent or a listing specialist or a realtor because you want to work less. Hire it because you have overflow.
When you want to improve your client service to the homeowners and stuff.
Right.
So that's when you know you need to start hiring, if that's your next question. When you start to feel the pain, when your service levels start to fall. If you're used to world-class service and all of a sudden you find yourself not being able, saying I'm sorry a lot, that's when you need to start looking at yourself and say, okay, I think it's time to fill that void or help me improve my service levels to where I want them.
I actually had a client tell me before I hired anybody, you seem distracted. That is a bad sign. That is time to hire a buyer's agent.
yeah, that was leading right into my next question. So you're now you've decided you're growing and building this team. You begin growing, right? What does that start to look like? Maybe talk a little bit about what kind of pitfalls come along the way with that, or earlier, maybe not as recent.
I would say our biggest pitfalls is being casual about hiring administrators. We made a lot of bad hires.
I think you're so excited to finally have an administrator that you don't really hold them accountable. And Mike and I actually, we've done personality tests, and understanding your own weaknesses is really important when you're building a team. So look inside yourself, realize where you're going to be strong or weak. Our weakness is that we're too optimistic. So what that means is, well, it'll get better. They'll be fine. They'll improve over time. And being in that personality type, we have to realize, no, they won't. And so you need to, you need to be very vigilant about who your first hires are the most important. And then it's exhausting to get rid of a bad hire, just absolutely exhausting. And it really slows down the progress. And we could have grown 10 times as fast if we would have known today what we knew back then, which goes into coaching and talking and listening today. You guys are all here. We can tell you what we did wrong. And I'd say, yeah, hiring too conveniently. It was convenient. They just happened to be there. It was my friend's friend, and so they were looking for a job, and it just fit. And so instead of saying, let me interview 5 more people, let me call your references, let me do the due diligence, which we go through a whole process, and that is a painful lesson to learn. So
It's so true too. Just so I can tell from our experience,
Yeah.
The other mistake,
10 to 1, right?
yeah.
the other mistake on the other end is hiring agents because they have productivity that don't fit the culture that you want to create. And so we've had a number of agents who sell a lot, and they're back in the office selling a lot where they should be, because they should be team leaders, not necessarily team members. And we made a number of mistakes on that.
Yeah. Yeah, what you're looking for is entrepreneurs. You know, you want to build a team. What we're trying to do is build a team big enough so that people can be entrepreneurs and have their own business inside our world. But some people really are built to be entrepreneurs and be the team leader. So you want to keep an eye out for that. You want to make sure you're having somebody that wants to be a part of a team and not come in and start to run your team, because that's just not going to work. And we've had that multiple times. And at this point, we know what we're looking for.
So talk about that. What at this point are you looking for? So I know you're obviously up in Cleveland, and I want to talk about numbers too a little bit. I want you guys to talk about what kind of numbers you did last year, what you're doing currently. And I know you're down in Cincinnati. You're now in Columbus. Shout
Yes.
out to Amber and the
Amber
rest
Allen.
of the Columbus team here. There's all you guys are representing. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. So talk about what it is you are looking for in agents as you're building your team, and then we can go into a little bit of the expansion stuff.
Number one, which we just picked up on 2-3 years ago, was giver taker. It's such a simple concept, but we all have friends. So you have 9 friends, and you always go out every weekend or whatever. And there's that one friend that wants to go to their place, talk about their problems. They kind of monopolize and control the entire scenario. They're still your friends. We love them. But that type of personality type is generally what's seen as like a taker. They're taking your energy, taking your time, your money, everything. And then we have those other friends that remember your kid's birthday, and you feel guilty because you forgot their birthday, and they're constantly talking about you and your feelings and how can I help you, and they put flowers in your flower bed, you don't even know why, and those are your giver friends. And you can think of your friends, and most everyone's always agreed with me, like, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. We really go out there and try to put givers on our team. And with that, what happens is over time, once somebody learns something, you've taught somebody something, they're such givers that they're teaching the other folks. And that's been the best thing now it's what we look for. As far as the amount of sales, being in real estate is not that difficult. Like learning how to fill out a 6-page agreement, it's not hard. I mean, there are some challenges. I'm not trying to, water down what we do. It's, there's a lot to being in real estate. But if you have somebody that's likable, that's a giver, the other stuff can be trained, and then you're off and running. We had a bartender 2.5 years ago. She joined our team. She's done $10.1 million this year alone already. It's because she's a giver. It's because she's hungry, and she's good energy, and she wants to be an entrepreneur. She wants to be a part of something. So that's what we're looking for.
So let's talk about, so we brought you here for a reason. We didn't bring you here just because we all collectively like to talk. We brought you here because you guys you're doing the work. You're putting up the numbers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm the numbers geek of the team, so.
Yeah, mic it up.
So last year.
Use your mic.
Sorry. So last year we did 850 transactions for $143 million of business, and we generated about $3.8 million of commissions. So we've been very fortunate that we were able to put this together. So we do a lot of business, and when you do a lot of business like that, you have to have systems in place to make it run, because 850 deals don't get processed without a system. And so it's very important to, while you're not doing 850 transactions a year, it's very important to create the systems when you're doing 50 transactions and make sure that they're solid so that you can ramp up and scalable. Right.
So let's talk about, so that's where we're at currently, right? Is there anything you want to share with what's going on with you guys right now?
So so this year we're already up to 121 million. We've done about 680 transactions. Last month we set a goal, because I have this new thing now that seasonality is just a mindset. And in the past 5 years, at least in Cleveland, probably down here as well, April, May, and June are the big 3 months. And then there's about a 30% drop-off in July. And then, there's a 30% drop-off in July, and there's just no reason for it. And so we put a challenge out to the team. So last July, we did 72 transactions. I put a challenge out to the team. I said, there's no reason we can't do 125 units. We can't write 125 units in the month.
They're home sales, not like rentals.
Right, rentals don't count. So 125 home sales in a month. And it took to the last day. We started the last day at 105. And we got 20 deals handed in on the last day. So we were able to do 125 deals in 1 month, which just goes to show there isn't a reason for you to drop off and not sell homes as the market gets slower. So I don't know about down here, but in Cleveland, more than 50% of the realtors are unseen from Thanksgiving to New Year's. And then everyone's back in the office on January 3rd. Well, that's just not how we're going to be, because there's no reason for that. And I looked at the numbers, and yeah, there's a drop-off. So in the Northeast Ohio, in July, there might be 12,000 units sold. And in January, there'll be 6,900 units sold. Well, I don't know why we can't get 100 to 110 of those 6,800. So we're just going to keep pushing, and we're just going to keep moving forward. So we hope that at the end of this year, we will be the first 1,000-unit team in the state.
And to back up, because the numbers, I think those numbers are pretty good. But it's a mindset. And so a lot of folks are just starting their teams, or they're just saying, hey, maybe I should build a team. Mike and I sat in the same chairs. I remember vividly a guy who did 400 home sales in a year, and it just blew my mind. And it really hasn't taken that long. A mindset is that you can do all of this. This is actually not that complicated. Mike and I actually aren't that smart. There's a model, there's systems. You just got to talk to other people, and then partner with really, really good, caring, giving people. And it really can all come together. But the thing is don't self-limit yourself. Open your mind. Get outside of Columbus. Go to Inman. Go look at these huge teams. And there's different podcasts in exactly what you're doing, where it educates you on these folks who just started out, 1 deal, 2 deals. Then they became partners, and they have 8-person teams. I see a lot of 8 and 10-person teams. Why not have 100 people on your team? Why not? I mean, our new goal you're asking is 150 people on the team. Why not? I got to meet Bob Lucido. He's got 120 people on his team. He did $10 million in commissions last year in 12 months. So just that mindset of we kind of, it's just year after year setting a new goal and staying focused. And next thing you know, you've got pretty cool numbers.
So that's a common theme. If you come here each month, the people we bring up here on average we get into the conversation of limitlessness. How, why those truly out there doing the deals, there's no limit to what it is they put on themselves, right? Because we self-limit ours. That we're our biggest, right? So can you talk a little bit about where does that limitlessness come from?
It comes from
No.
it comes from providing value to people who you then are leveraging to do this. Right. Mike Zinicola cannot do 1,000 deals sitting in his office as a sole practitioner of real estate. But Mike Zinicola can provide an opportunity for agents who realize that there's a value there to come in and work with us, and as a team we can get to anything we want. There is a limit if you're just a single agent. There's only so much time in the day. So whether that limit's doing 50 deals, 120 deals, I don't think a single agent can do 200 deals.
Yeah. It all starts with that first hire like we talked about. So if you mean limitless in the context of how can you just be unlimited, how can you get 150 people, or if you mean where does the mindset come from?
Yeah, mindset.
So I think the mindset comes from coming and listening to these. I mean, you guys are in a special position. You know how many realtors are in Columbus, right? But you're the only ones here. And there's people online, so we appreciate that too. But the people that are constantly striving for that next level and more education, more knowledge, I mean, we sold a lot. I mean, if I could rewind, I would come listen to this story, and it might not mesh with you, and everybody has a different style and a different story, but just gaining that knowledge and understand. I had my cousin told me years ago when I was 19, I went down there. He's in medical sales in Texas, in Dallas, and he asked me what I thought a lot of money was, and I gave him a number, and he told me what he made, and it was just two different numbers, and it was the whole concept of I'm stuck in, at the time, I mean, I'm not stuck, I'm in Columbus, and my parents were educators, and so I thought a lot of money was X. And it was the first time my mind ever got like blown away with the concept of what is your high watermark. So my one piece of advice is raise that watermark. I mean, it's, and fear is, I think, what holds us all back. And so you just have to shelf fear and just go for it. And yes, you're going to fail. And yes, people are going to, say things and this and that, but you just got to wait for it to come, have fun. You're also going to find a lot of great new relationships. You're also going to have a lot of amazing experiences along the way, too. So there's just as much good as bad. But I think limitless, that thought process, and it's constantly just challenging yourself, and it's kind of scary. I just said out loud, we want to go to 150 realtors on our team. So I guarantee you some people are going to remember that, and if we don't get there, they're going to throw it at us. And that's okay. I'm willing to take that risk. We're willing to, put it out there. And I think that's the mindset of limitlessness. You just got to...
And you need to find opportunities to go see other people who've done it. So most people, if they're not a Keller, they're Sotheby's, or they're a RE/MAX, go to your national conventions.
Yeah.
Because they're filled with people who have done similar things. Find out how they did it within your company structure.
Right.
And realize there are people out there doing it. So Greg and I think the first couple of years we went to family reunion, we thought we were like high-producing agents in Cleveland, and we're pretty
We
darn
were very
cool.
proud of ourselves.
Correct. And then we were humbled very quickly to find people who were doing 4, 5, 6, 10 times more than us. And so knowing that we have had the drive to get to those places, and seeing people who had similar intelligence and similar drives making such a success really made us go the extra mile to do it.
Yeah, and one of the techniques is to let go of the concept of worrying about the realtor in the cube next to you. Stop worrying about it. I mean, the amount of homes, they're not your competitor. There's so many houses that are being sold. It's limitless, the number of homes, the number of neighborhoods, the number of areas. So I guess just the mindset of like collaborate with the realtor in the cube next to you. Don't like hide your paper when they walk by or turn your monitor so they don't see your magical flyer you're creating.
Right. In our office in Cleveland, we have a large bullpen, but it's mostly made up of a big collaboration table. And it's so fun to listen to our younger agents sit there and tell each other what they're doing, and they're experimenting with this or that. And this table has become this center of knowledge for these younger agents who are just trying to get as much information as they can. And I love that.
Yeah, and I've never had an experience ever that I've stopped and helped a realtor in any part of the state or whatever. We've literally stopped and spent an hour, and like even this moment here where we're trying to throw out whatever we can. If you pick up one thing, that's awesome. If you pick up nothing, I'm sorry, there will be alcohol after this. But I've never had an experience where I didn't help and like they didn't throw something back at me like that's awesome. And for example, this camera here, I'm really excited to go back and set up. It fixes a problem for us logistically. We're trying to get Columbus and Cincinnati to have a nice technical way to live stream our meetings. So that is a huge fix, and it happened because I came down here and just said, hey, I want we just want to help you. So never been an experience where I helped anybody without having some sort of reciprocity, some way that I've picked up something. And you only get that by giving first. You can't just sit there and wait for somebody to give to you.
Of course, I'm not the technology guy, so I just see, we're just going to spend another $450.
Apparently, Mike hasn't gotten anything out of that. Right.
So,
the numbers guy, exactly.
So great.
You got to find opportunities to help people. I mean, search them out, find them. Really.
Great segue. You're killing it in Cleveland. So why Columbus?
So that actually comes from a limitless perspective and getting a bigger mindset. So why Columbus? Why not Columbus? Part of it is it works out really well. I have family here that it's just awesome that I can come here. But from a business standpoint, we now know how to do something. I guess I'll use an analogy that most people, I don't know if you get it or not, but it's a silly analogy. But if you spent $20,000 on a lawnmower and it's like the best John Deere lawnmower you've ever had, and you mow one little lawn, doesn't it make sense to just go right up the street and mow 12 other lawns? It's the same cost. So we have this machine that's pumping out deals up in Cleveland, the machine being 7 of the top administrators, systems, we know logos, websites, bulk, you pull everything together, there's bulk rates on things, we have the relationships. It's actually very easy to kind of walk in here with the financial backing. It's the same reason why does Starbucks open up more? I mean, they already have the model, so we can take that model, put it into a different market, and immediately start to, with the right partners, but that's part of the model. We now know who and what we're looking for to create a very strong, solid team that can compete at a high level in each city and market, thus creating revenue and profit, and so that's part of it too. Yay.
The
Money.
other part of that is it's a diversity. So
Yay, money.
Greg and I were talking one night, and we said, wouldn't it be interesting if our whole career wasn't based on the real estate ups and downs of Cleveland, Ohio? And so by expanding out, there's a diversity that allows us to enjoy the fact that companies are coming to Columbus and they may not be coming up there.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a different thing. So it's exciting and refreshing, and it's exciting coming into Columbus. We think Amber's awesome, and we're excited about her leading our team. And coming here, and no one knows us here. So up in Cleveland, if you're in real estate, you know the Easy Sales team. You just know who they are, and it's sort of fun actually to come back and rebuild this and rebrand it in a whole nother area. So it's sort of an additional challenge that we're enjoying.
I think the other thing that does motivate us is we found people. I think Cincinnati, we had a relationship. Ann Wagner, who is just somebody that we've referred. We have lead generation, and by the way, when you do expansion, you want to have a lead generation system set up first before you go. First, you want to make sure that you've got your own city covered, because it's the cost to do business when you already have bricks and mortar and you're already set up in one city. I mean, make sure you're kind of taking care of the city you're in first and saturate it a little bit before you go and try to jump to a different city, add more cost, more expenses and stuff. But Amber, the relationship is where we started with Ann Wagner down in Cincinnati. And the money is good. Our bills, I mean, we're good at this point. So what are we doing? What's our big why? And it's to offer not only the homeowner something different, we feel, but I think what our niche really is, as we build a team, the servant leadership that we offer, they hire us. We don't hire them. And we hope that they'll hire us and stay with us, and we'll make them happy enough that they won't fire us and go to some other team or some other brokerage. So I think what drives us to other cities is to offer an opportunity that we don't see that exists in these other cities. And we've changed lives up in Cleveland, absolutely, without question. They tell us that like all the time, and that's pretty awesome. So we're not going to stop, because I think we would take that opportunity away from people in other cities and in Cleveland. So we're just going to keep growing because of that. That's our main drive.
So what I love with what you're doing is it is really rarefied air, right? There's not a ton of people doing this expansion model. I know it's a lot. There's some KW teams doing it, but it's pretty impressive. So can you talk a little bit about what have been some of the early struggles with some of that, and then what are the things going really well that you're excited about moving forward?
Struggles, again, would be putting...
Are they consistent, the same struggles that you've had in Cleveland?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so people.
Putting good people in the wrong seats. That's always a struggle. And because we're in another city, accentuate that, because you're not there every day.
Right.
So that's probably the only struggle, other than it's interesting for us that we're coming again after being so well known in Cleveland that we're not known. So that struggle, because we want that quicker,
Right.
But obviously it never comes quick enough, I guess.
One of the exciting parts about it, the benefits of going to different cities, is actually picking up knowledge. And Columbus real estate is different than Cincinnati real estate, which is different than Cleveland real estate, and it's kind of fascinating, really. But we can learn things like today from Columbus and take them back to Cleveland. That gives you a competitive advantage in Cleveland. And so I know there's a team in here looking to expand out to Indianapolis. They're going to learn things in Indianapolis that they'll be able to bring back and have a competitive advantage in Columbus. So again, it's that limitlessness. That's been the most fun for us. We were not expecting that, to to pick up really great ideas, or build these relationships, where new friendships, where we're learning things that we never would have learned if we just stayed in our one little neighborhood, as most realtors are trained to do. Like, this is your neighborhood, stay there, that's it. These are your boundaries, call it a day. If you do 20 deals a year, you're good, that's it. So you just can learn so much by expanding. So that was the benefit of expansion.
So let's talk about what's we're going to open some of this up for questions too. So if you guys are sitting on any questions, we're going to do some of that. Where are you going? We talked about Columbus, Cincinnati. What's the future? What are the big? And you talked about some of your goals. Can you expand upon some of that?
Written goals are 150 agents. The majority, we're going to have 25 in Columbus, 25 in Cincinnati.
What's the time period on that? In the next 12 months?
Yeah, 24 months. So we'd like to have a team leader and 10 agents in Columbus, team leader and 10 agents in Cincinnati by the end of this year. And then by the end of next year, 25. What we've also found is, so you'd say, well, how in the world am I ever going to get to 70 agents or what have you? It's interesting. We wouldn't have known this until we started going. But once the first 5 are excited, those 5 become recruiters for your team. And then those 10, and then those 20. And then right now, it's real easy for somebody to start and get the first 9. That's tough. But at the point in which, like in Cleveland, we have 50, it's really, I could add 10 people to, like, in the next 30 days, because those folks have to be happy to be your advocate to keep growing. So, but the goal is, that is our stated goal. We want to have 25 agents, team leader. That means we're going to have a lot of growing pains, which would mean administrators, runners. I just bought a storage locker today. That's number count, that's what we're looking at, if that answers your question. The goal obviously is to be one of the top 10 realtors in each city. Why not? Let's be honest. We want to be the number 1 realtor in Columbus. We want to be the number 1 realtor in Cincinnati. That's not something you should fear. That's something everybody in here should want. And if it's not, I'd ask you to raise your goals. Everybody should be going after this. There's no reason people can't do the same thing. It's a matter of if you want to, because there's a lot of heavy as the head that wears the crown kind of stuff. You have a lot of challenges and things like that, but that's our stated goal. Mike agrees wholeheartedly.
What do you want to leave with these guys here today? What kind of takeaways? What else would you like to leave with them today? What didn't we cover?
I just feel like we've been talking. I would love to really genuinely know what their real questions are, so I can hit those. But
whatever you do it with sincerity and a good heart, and do it with really great intentions. And if you do that, you will succeed. And I think that in many cases, realtors don't always do that. And it becomes really refreshing when it happens. If you work hard and you're sincere, you will succeed in this business, because people can read that on your face.
Right. So, and I'd say the same thing. It goes back to the giver. Find an opportunity to give. If you're constantly helping other people and giving, opportunity will find you, and just you'll have abundance. Just do that. That's your homework. Find a way to help somebody. Help another realtor. You know something they don't know. Help them. Share it with them.
I like that, just because Greg just briefly mentioned it. Come from a position of abundance. There's so much. You don't have to hide things from your fellow agents. Yeah. There's enough for all of us.
Thank you. Questions? Did we cover everything? Good, Sean.
Unintended consequences, good or bad.
Unintended consequences.
When you start the business and you grow in the business, you're certainly going to come across some good and bad things that you didn't count on.
I think putting good people in the wrong seat on the bus, and then you have to go and take it back from them, and then they're hurt. And I'd say that's unintended. It was a consequence. It was painful for everybody, and it was a mistake. And that's why we're saying, hire slow, fire fast. That's a basic tenet of business, and that was one unintended consequence.
One of the other things is that if you start succeeding, some people's natural tendency is to want to knock you down, and you just have to take all that noise and throw it off to the side, and just continue to be confident in yourself that what you're doing is right. And if you're doing it with sincerity, honesty, and competency, then you know you are doing it right, and the heck with anyone else who who has anything negative to say. When I got in the business, there was an agent in my office, and she was the grande dame of real estate in the area. And I was in her office, and everyone would put her down. Well, she's just a witch with a briefcase, and she does all that real estate, but, she never sees her husband, or blah, 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 blah. And they would always have all these excuses why they didn't sell as much as Gloria. And the truth is that they were just excuses. I want to know what the heck she was doing, because she was selling $25 million of real estate by herself. So the unintended consequence is to brush that off to the side. Just keep going down your path and do what's right with you. And if you're confident at the end of the day that you've done well for your team, done well for your clients, don't worry about what the other people say, because they will say stuff.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, they will come. The bigger you get, and you just, I call it 41-year-old Greg. That's a new thing that I just learned, which is I'm a high D personality type, or an A, or however you want to look at it. And so I fire back every time. Punch me, I'll punch you back. And that's a mistake. And 41-year-old Greg doesn't do that now. So I've actually had a lot of success already this year, because we're getting hit more and more, because we're being disruptive in the marketplace. And that's basically a goal. You want everyone to feel you. When you're talking sports analogies, you want the other team to feel you, basically. And so you want to get out there. They're going to feel you. They're going to come back at you. And, just always take the high road, which sounds such a generic thing to say. It does get harder and harder. But 41-year-old Greg learned that, and he's been very successful at it. So that's definitely a tip of the day. So.
I have two questions. Number one is, if I'm going to join your team, or if I want to expand and get someone else to join a team from another city, it seems to me that you have to offer something I can't get here. So what do you tell an agent in Columbus that I can offer you from Cleveland that you can't find a good team in Columbus to get that from? That's my first question. And then my second is generic commission splits. What kind of commission am I going to pay you to be part of your team?
Okay, cool. I'll answer the first one. The question was, what value proposition can we offer another agent if we were going to expand into Chicago tomorrow? What I call a Chicago agent, what can I offer them? And what's nice is, and that's why I say you got to have kind of a good story where you are first, because part of that value is going to be, what is your current story? It's kind of hard to prove to somebody, hey, I can bring you something you've never had before if you've never achieved what they want to achieve. So, we've sold 143 million last year. We've done 100. We have unlimited knowledge on how to grow a really big business fast. So sort of like if Starbucks were to call somebody in Chicago and say, there's no Starbucks in Chicago, we'd like to talk to you. Here's our success. Your record, I think, is part of it. So now they're intrigued. They want to talk to you. They want to understand. Financial backing, just like Starbucks would do, right? Training, just like Starbucks, just like franchising. Remember, we're a business now. We're not realtors when you look at it from this perspective. So you're going to go to that market for a period of time. You're going to help get it up and running. You're going to put them in a position of power, and you're going to do that through, you got to have a lead gen system set up, one that's pretty substantial and one that's been proven successful. So that value, absolutely, that value proposition has to be there. And you have to have a good relationship. Yeah, this has to be somebody that you want to be with for a very long time, and you want to have that relationship. So I don't know if that answers the question. That's the first part of the question is, yeah, you absolutely need to know what your value proposition is to that person.
Can I add?
And Mike will add to it.
It all starts from the value proposition in your hub. So it's the same reason people come to us in Cleveland that they would come to us in Columbus, because we have a value proposition that allows them to build their business. And our particular value proposition is, you come to us and we're going to help you build your business. And how are you going to do that? We're going to do it through leads, we're going to do it for coaching, we're going to do it through mentoring, we're going to do it from financial backing. And we can spend an hour telling you all the specifics of that, but it's the same value proposition of your hub. It worked in Cleveland. It should work down here, because real estate really isn't that much different, other than you guys use electronic lock boxes and we all use combo lock boxes. So
Stop the electronic lockbox.
it's ridiculous.
GE
but
just
anyway,
wants
that's a
your
whole
money.
other story, a whole other seminar.
Don't give GE your money.
But anyway,
Super.
so it's that same, whatever that value proposition is, it needs to be strong before you go into, because you do have that distance to overcome. But it can be done, but as long as your value proposition is done. On the commission splits, so at Keller Williams, Gary Keller has a system where you cap the money you pay him. So you pay him 30% of your commissions till you hit $18,000 or $21,000 or $22,000, whatever the office is. So when Greg and I put our commission splits together, we put together a system where an agent can actually cap on our team. So we have they have to pay the office cap, which is reduced if you're a team member. And then we go through a whole system. We start over every year on your anniversary, where you start at 50% for a certain amount of time, and you go all the way up to 100%. So if you sell more than $6 million of real estate on our team, you're actually paying us $100 a deal for the rest. You'll still get the same administrative, you'll still get the same marketing, you'll still get everything. But we believe that if you've paid us on the first $6 million, from anywhere from 50 to 90%, 95%, I'm sorry, 50 to 5%, I'm sorry, we would get that. Obviously, you would not pay me 95%. That would not be a very good value proposition for you. So if you did that, you've actually paid us enough money to justify not having to pay us anymore. And so what has that done for us? It allows someone like we have an agent on our team who represents the Browns, and she gets there fairly quickly. It allows her to never have to make the decision to not be on our team. So if someone's selling $12 million and she's paying us 25% or 35% or whatever, 20% on $12 million, she's going to have to make an analysis at some point. Yeah, I love these guys. They really make me look good. I get to this number quicker, but the truth is that I'm paying them too much money. So there is some level that you have to stop. And so we have it set up where this number equals the value, and I can show the number that they actually pay us if they get to $6 million, what they would spend if they were just on their own, and it's within $1,000. And yet we get to take advantage of the economies of scale, and we get to take advantage of the fact that they get a reduced commission if they're on the team as opposed to if they're just an individual agent at Keller. And we're able to make a very good living while giving everyone the opportunity to sell like wildfire and make a whole bunch of money. So that this agent who was a $35,000, $40,000 a year bartender has already made $189,000 this year, and she probably has another 35, 40 in pending deals. So she could never do that on another team. Now, when we have team leads, no matter where you are in our process, a team lead is a 50-50 split. So that's just what it is.
So all the splits and everything can be different. I mean, you can create your own. It doesn't have to be this specific
this
one.
Is ours. I was just trying to give you the theory of ours.
But what we highly recommend, I guess, from all of that is make sure that the amount of money that the amount of money that you're charging for the service you provide, and remember you're a service provider as a team leader, right? You have a team, you're providing a service to your client. So if your cheeseburger is $30, nobody's going to, they might eat there for a while, but they're not going to keep going there once they find out. So your value, the amount of money that these agents spend on the team have to be justified. And, that's why at some point you can't justify giving me $100,000 for to be on our team, but can you justify 20, 30? Yeah, because we have 7 administrators, we have office space, we have, and that's when you start to go through the more tactical stuff of what you offer.
And you hear other business models across the country where the team leader is providing the leads and then the agent gets 25, 30, 35%. And that's a model that is used all across the country by a number of companies. Here's the problem with that. If you're in San Diego and the average condo is $800,000 and you give that person a lead, that $24,000 commission, if you're getting 30% of that, you're making $7,200. In Columbus, if you're giving them a $150,000 condo and you're giving them 35% of $4,500, then you're at $1,350. It's the same amount of work. So a lot of people talk about this model where the team leader is making 70%, 60%, 80%. One guy pays a salary and gives them 15 or 10%. All those things don't, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, doesn't work in the Midwest. Doesn't work in small and mid-sized markets. So you have to judge your commission splits by the market that you're in.
And the fun part of all of this, and your question in and of itself is fun because you get to make it whatever you want to make it. I mean, you can build your team the way you want to build it, and just we're very different from other teams, and in fact, our coach calls us the Costco of real estate. So we need a lot of agents because we take a little bit of commission from a lot of agents, whereas most teams are set up with 8 or 10 people, and they're taking a little bit more from fewer agents, which then their value proposition might be more hand-holding, more in-person communication. There's value to that too. You get to be whatever you want to be. We've just decided this model for ourselves, and I have the mic in my hand, so I'm going to tell you about it. But
Well, that hour went quickly. So it's 4:30. I told you it wouldn't keep you longer than 4:30. Remind you guys, we're going to go over to Brazen Head here right after this.
Beer.
And we're going to continue on your in questions. I want to thank you both for coming down here and giving us your time to do this. This is always the highlight of the month for us, what we like to be able to learn and meet interesting people doing the deal. So would you guys help me and thank Mike and Greg for sharing with us today?
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We enjoyed it.
So any parting words?
do your homework. Find a way to give to somebody.
Thank you, guys.